Well, in Horror in the Heights, Carl Kolchak takes a look at some murders, which wouldn't amount to a whole lot because unfortunately these things happen, and he's on the story and everything. But of course, things are never what they seem, more so than ever in this particular episode. Well, it turns out the real culprit is a demon or demonic-like creature from Hindu myth. And, of course, Carl doesn't know a whole lot about the Hindu religion, its lore, or what have you. So, fortunately, he eventually comes in contact with a man who does, who's actually hunting the demon, has been hunting this creature, and apparently there are more than one, I guess, all his life. But he's in his 80s now, so it's not really going to work out. So, that's the real cause of the problem. But as it starts out, this is a Jewish neighborhood, and most of the victims are these Jewish people. And so one begins to suspect, there's some anti-Semite killing Jewish people. And to make matters worse, part of what this Hindu guy does, he owns a Hindu restaurant that isn't doing very well business-wise, but probably doesn't help the matters that he paints swastikas all over the back alley walls and everything. So immediately one of the characters in this, who was at the scene of one of the initial murders that Carl's investigating, tells him he thinks it's this guy is behind it all. And he says, "Look at all these swastikas, you know." And Carl's like, "Oh, yeah, maybe so." Of course, then that guy gets killed by the monster while Carl is looking at it. Well, it turns out, of course, a lot of people don't realize this, and I suppose the character didn't either, or clearly didn't, the Nazis didn't create the swastika. It's a much older symbol. It was more of like a good luck charm type symbol, and that's the use of it here as this Hindu demon fighter. The demon's called the Rakshasa, I believe. I'm probably getting it wrong, sorry. But nevertheless, he was painting the swastikas all over his building and what have you, because it was meant to ward off the evil spirit, you know. And so that's the explanation, but of course the misunderstanding, which is pretty obvious. But one of the things about this is kind of a trope that you see in quite a few fantastic genre of television and film. Certainly one could recall the Man Trap episode of Star Trek, where the salt vampire could assume the form of whoever the intended victim wanted to see. And such is the case here. In fact, you get brief glimpses of the creature in its actual form, but it's kind of similar to the salt vampire. But this creature doesn't drain your salt, it just eats your flesh. That's what it likes to do, and that's what it's doing to the victims. But when the victims see the creature, they don't see the creature, they see their mother, their boss, a friend from work, stuff like that. One of the victims, the guy who was accusing the restaurant owner, saw Carl Kolchak walking down the alley. He thought that was Carl. He said, "Hey, how'd you get over there?" and all that type of thing. And it fools him, you know. But that's the deal. That's one of the main trickery that the creature can use to lure them in, and then by the time they realize something's wrong, it's too late. And so there's a series of murders, and the police are, of course, once again baffled. Carl, of course, suspects the paranormal, begins to find more clues to that, and of course, once he encounters the Hindu restaurateur, the guy basically explains it as he's really on death's door because of his age. And he does encounter some guy who collects a lot of he's running a antiques shop, and he's got a lot of expensive antiques, and some of the items he has is from India and all that, and he's aware somewhat of the legend. So that, it's the typical paces of a Night Stalker show where he's getting bits and pieces, and he's able to put it together. And when he finally is able to talk to this demon hunter guy, he really fills in all the blanks. And basically, at one point, he suspected Carl might be the creature, although one would have to wonder why he would see Carl. But, of course, Carl was in the restaurant, but he was, I don't know. Anyway, nevertheless, he takes a shot at him with a crossbow and misses him, of course. But later on, when Carl's able to actually speak to him, he explains that this is the only means by which to stop the creature. You got to shoot it, no matter what it looks like, So ultimately, that's what Carl, the old man is, of course, the old man. And so Carl takes the crossbow and seeks out the creature. But of course, instead of seeing the actual creature, it's what's her name, Emily, I believe, the old lady from the newspaper that he works at. And then, of course, he's immediately fooled. He's like, what are you doing here? Why are you out here in the dark? And all that, And then she gets closer and closer. And then he's like, now, you're just stop coming. I'm going to have to shoot you. So, of course, he realizes, because she surely would have stopped by then. So he fires the arrow into her chest. And fortunately, it was not her. It was the creature, and down it goes. And there you have it. So, the paces are the same for how this plays out, but it's a different kind of monster from a folklore from very far away that you quite usually don't see depicted at all. Vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. Got quite a bit of those, but demons from a culture such as India, you rarely see anything of that nature. So, you got to give it props for that. Plus the explanation. Not all swastikas are the same. But boy, I tell you, that political party in Germany in the 30s really, really ruined the image, So, what are you going to do, So, but anyway, the flesh-eating monster was defeated. Of course, no one's really going to believe Carl once again. So for all they know, the killings in that neighborhood just suddenly stopped. And, well, you chalk that up to one of those mysteries. Gee, why did the killer stop? Well, he's either dead or he's in prison or both, And life goes on. So that's pretty much what settles it. Of course, it is with the narration typical of Carl, lamenting yet another story that he can never really publish because Vincenzo, of course, said, Carl, a hairy monster that looked like Emily? It wasn't going to go for it. And plus, Carl was thinking, well, and also I could never tell Emily that I pulled the trigger on the crossbow when I was aiming it at an image of her. But I was pretty sure it wasn't really you. So, it's okay. But anyway, again, the charm of the show really carries it, and it's a favorite of mine. And I enjoyed the episode. So there you go, Horror in the Heights, a demon of a different sort.